Robert shared log, Sunday 19th of April 2020. Hello, I'm Robert and welcome to my shed. This week I've been working on this giant coffee table and thinking about words that mean the same thing as other words with the same sound and spelling. For example, the word draw can be used to mean bring two things together, like drawing the curtains, or it can also mean drawing things with a chalk on a blackboard. The word bore can mean boring, like watching a 1 hour video of me making a piece of wood in the right shape, or it can mean drilling a hole through something. So drawboring is pulling together two things by drilling holes, which is what I'm trying to do here. This one still needs to be cut out, and I'll do that today. And also I want to talk about this joint, the bridle joint. It's actually an end bridle joint. So today we'll talk about T-joints. That is, when you have one piece of wood, like this one, you want to join it at a right angle. Obviously I've got some blocks on the end of this just to illustrate things, but that's just to make my life easier in the demonstration. Now the easiest way, the obvious way to do a T-joint is to do what I've been doing on the rest of the bench, which is a mortise and tenon joint. So you take the middle bit out of the longer piece, and you cut the end of the tenon, the end of the upright to be a tenon, like so, well, the T-piece I suppose, and then you simply drop that into the hole and everything's nice and snug. However, that is a rather labour-intensive joint. It's one of the strongest joints you can make, but I didn't want to use it for this particular problem, which was to join the horizontal structures to the legs. So instead, I read up everything I could on joints because I'm sure there must be an easier way of doing it. It turns out there was. I ended up talking to Kit, a long-time subscriber to Shedlog. Hi Kit, thank you. And she suggested doing the opposite, taking out the pieces I'd leave behind from Austin Town and doing this. Now this is called bridle joint in this configuration. Now it's bridle as in the tooth going into a horse's mouth, not bridle as in a bridle bartered away. Now that basically, you have this bit that holds that bit on. Now this is where you normally can't see it. I'm doing it the other way up because my leg goes down on top. My first thought actually was to do a slip joint, sorry, a holding joint. My first thought was to do a holding joint, which is when you have when you take out the top half of this joint to make that sort of shape, although there'll be a bit of wood in here to hold it together, and then just drop this straight into there, which is great if what you're wanting is something to hold it rigidly this way, because it can't move front to back because the wood's in the way. But it can move this way. You've only got friction on the side to stop that, and that can cause all sorts of problems when you have this kind of force on the bench from sawing, for example. So that's why I ended up doing that. This is actually called a housing joint. I think in an earlier video I called it a half-lap joint. Kind of is a half-lap because you're taking half of the material on one piece, and nominally half of this one, you just cut it shorter. So yes, the bridle joint is more or less the joint I'm using. The only difference is that because of where it sits, I'm actually using an end bridle joint. So this piece of wood actually goes onto the end of the wood, like this. That's because when I made it with a full through bridle, it just didn't hold properly. So I didn't leave enough material on this end, and this bit effectively broke off. So I now have a through bridle. I have an end bridle, which is also a slip joint. It's still strong enough, it's still going to give enough strength this way, and if necessary I can peg it. Another point about bridle joints is that doing these cuts is really easy, because all you do is you dig a saw line here, 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 and here, and then this just chisels out because it's only long length of the grain. So this will just go to pop. So first thing to do when drilling the holes is to look at the tools we're going to be using. Make sure you've got the right tools. I'm using this hand drill. The two reasons are the battery went in my power drill and I still haven't replaced it. Secondly, this has a really nice straight line, so you can see if we're going into a straight angle or not, which is really quite handy. So that is going to be used in conjunction with this jig that I made. It's starting to wear out now, because every time I use it, it takes a little bit off the sides. But this will tell me if the drill bit is going straight. That means the angle I can get it off by is not very much. So the first thing is to mark the holes. These are 50mm from the end and 27.5 and 29 inches from the bottom. Always measure from the bottom, that's my reference line. Tell me how high things are going. Yes, I'm mixing units, sorry about that. What I wanted was something that was more than a centimetre from the end of the tenon, because any closer than a centimetre to the end of a piece of wood, if you put a peg in there, you could split the wood. IKEA, take note. So this will go in onto the point. The jig will go on top of it just to hold it into position, and I'll clamp it in first, still holding the drill bit into the hole. It's not the easiest excuse me, it's not the easiest thing to get right, but it really does help once it's there. Now it's still holding the drill bit in position. I'm doing that before attaching the bit to the drill because the drill is heavy and it will pull itself out otherwise. So, attach the drill, tighten it up. It's turning anti-clockwise, which means it's tight. And then just drill through. Now, drilling to wood, you want as much speed as possible. You should be practical with a smaller bit. It's visually changed its whole level and centered on the hole. So I should just be able to drill through now. Okay, so I'm through and through the mortice bore into the back of the mortice. I'm going to have to stop because the drill bit's not long enough, and take off the jig. I've already done this a few times. This one I had to adjust slightly with a chisel because I got it slightly wrong. Now I've got through part way, this should hold the drill level naturally. I can locate that into the hole and then just drill through. Now if I was being pedantic, I should have a piece of wood or something, or a bit of tape on the back of the joint and stop tear out. But I don't really care about tear out because it's not designed to look pretty, it's designed to work. I'm going for the rough finish look. And yeah, let's do the next one. Voila. So that's the first thing. The next thing is to put the tenon back in the joint. So we can mark up the drawbore holes for the tenon. Well, this is quite a loose fit because the drawbore hole doesn't need to be tight, and there's also quite a gap between the leg and the horizontal. I'm hoping the drawbore will pull that gap in. We'll have to see. First thing is to mark the position of the hole, which is very simply a matter of pushing the drill bit all the way in with the tenon in place. The drill bit, as you should be able to see, has a point at the very top. And that point makes a mark on the wood. Very small marks. That's all we need. So we need to measure. Now for drawboring you usually use 1/16 of an inch, but this is a workbench that's with very sturdy wood, 2 inches thick, so I'm going to go for 3/32 of an inch, which is about as much as you can just go for. And the little conversion table tells me that 3/32 of an inch is 2.38 millimeters. So that should be all we need. So in fact, I'm not going to even bother with a pencil, I'm just going to mark the position with the drill bit. You can see I've got two holes there. 4 holes now, the 2 I marked first and 2 that are closer towards the shoulder. It's this part of the joint. And I need to drill these out as well. I can do it on top of the bench, excuse me, of the clamp. By the way, if anyone could tell me what this is called, the bit of the clamp that slides up and down, it might be a slide. I'd quite like to know, because it keeps getting in my way and I'd like to know what it's called so I can invoke the power of a proper name on it. So, still means I've got the jig in position. I will now take my 10mm drill bit and drill a hole before I have to move the bit. This is a bit fiddly and it will tend to move around a bit. And it tends to jam up the bit too, so I have to do this a few times. Before I get all the way through. And it doesn't matter on this one if I make a mess of it because this is internal and no one's going to see it. Okay, let's go straight down the straight line. There we are. I should be able to make sure that it's circular cut and not a spiral. There we go, that's one hole drilled. Second hole. There we go. Let's see, tenon done. A bit of tear out on the back, but that's fine. Just have to pull that off. Because the tenon's so big, there's really not a lot of worry about the tear out. Again, I could avoid the tear out by drilling into a piece of wood or by putting a bit of tape on the back with masking tape. There you go, that's the tear out. And that's the side I drilled. Which is not perfect, but more than good enough for this purpose. So I just need to enlarge these holes a big bit, and then we'll be ready to start assembly. Sometimes it goes straight through, other times I've got a vise, got a spanner. So this will walk away. Install the vise into the top hole. There have to be cuts in that. And here or something. Right, but I've Unfortunately, after that sequence of editing, the joint wasn't quite right in this. You can now test it off here. So I need to put that back. It's marked. I'll put the vice on the directional arrow on the inside. So that goes in here. And it's not going in because of the tenon out on the inside of the mortice. That's off from the sawing. Now it fits. And I'm going to try and offer the camera up to the job. Excuse me, I'm sorry if you get motion sickness. So you can see that it's not quite a through hole. There is a 32nd of an inch gap that the peg will have to force its way through to go through. And by forcing its way in there, that will draw the tenon closer to the mortise and hopefully close up that gap slightly. That's the plan. Right, so with that done, it's time to assemble the bench. So let's assemble the bench. First thing is to get the mortises and tenons to join up. Base and head and toe. Closer I can get up to the right position, the easier it will be. Okay. Pegs line out. I'm going to start this side because this is the one that's giving me the most trouble. And then work my way around. They recommend drawboring if you don't have any clamps, because you don't need them. Although I used a clamp to hold the jig on, you can do it without that. You certainly don't have to wait for any glue to dry. So let's see if this will go in. Well, it's done something. It is through, but it's not doing anything on the other side. Okay. Okay, we'll see if this closes this top gap up. Yeah, that's definitely not happy on the other side, but I'll pretend. Come back to it. Found it. Well, that's as strong as it's getting, at least for now. If I need it stronger than that, I can put cross joints in. Onto the vice. Yeah, I can't do this. Not like this. I don't think. Okay, so I'm going to have a rethink. I'm going to take this off. quite heavy work. That's not ideal. That's not turning. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. This is jammed up, it does basically work. Okay. So that's a milestone hit. I have a workable bench. Albeit I could really use a better bench top, and a tail vise would be nice. So I'm not done yet. A bit of a tidy up. I've made a bit of a mess in a couple of places. Need to dial that in. But apart from that, this is looking fairly sturdy. There's a little bit of wall on it. I think that's probably because they feet need playing. But it's a bench, and tune in again next time to see it becoming a better bench. Yeah. Ta-ta! Testing using cheese to record a video.